I do write 2 or 3 articles a month for LitReactor, and I enjoy reading the articles from a number of writers that are on there. This one I wrote back in December of last year, and I wrote it after I had done NaNoWriMo live here on Twitch. And what I had done was I took 20 days and I wrote the first 50,000 words of a novel that I still need to finish live on stream. And so it was sort of early on in my streaming, and just wanted to see if I could pull it off. I plan on doing it again this year. The novel I write next will probably be a little more action oriented and will be finished at 50,000 words. So it's going to be a shorter novel, and it's not going to be one that I have to go back to and drag out. Of course, you'll need to edit it, but that's my plan. So these were 10 things I learned live streaming writing on my 50,000 word NaNoWriMo novel. And since I've had about half a year and a little more success on here, have done a lot more writing on here, I wanted to go back and look at this article with the idea of seeing what I still agreed with, maybe things that I had learned more about, or things that I might have changed my mind on. And I also kind of have a selfish motivation here. I kind of want to see what I maybe need to think about as I'm going into November to do NaNoWriMo again. Having written a story every day for a month here on Twitch in May, I've learned a few things and have gained a little bit here with streaming. And actually, LitReactor is going to have me write an article about that as well, writing a story every day live on stream for a month. So I just kind of want to look back at where I was then and see kind of where I am now. So we'll kind of move through the article, and I'll talk about things that may have changed or have stayed the same. So again, we're revisiting the things I learned from live streaming NaNoWriMo last year, hopefully to prepare myself for this year. It's as crazy as it sounds. On its own, NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, is enough of a challenge for authors. The end game, to create a 50,000 word novel in a month. I decided to write my 50,000 words over the course of 20 days, all while live streaming on Twitch. If you're quick, you can see the videos on my Twitch channel before they disappear after 60 days. Obviously, that's a while ago. I have Gaming Prime, formerly Twitch Prime, available as a bonus with Amazon Prime, and 60-day storage of videos is one of the perks. I actually got affiliate status early this year, and so I got the 60-day storage from that now, I guess. So that's something that's changed. If you're not quick, you can go to my YouTube channel, Captain Three Kidneys, to see the edited videos stored there forever under my NaNoWriMo list. It's a difficult way to write when people are popping in and out of stream to watch over your shoulder. Prior to November, I had live streamed writing a short story from beginning to end in one Twitch session. Creating a whole novel or the first 50,000 words of one in front of an audience is an alien concept at odds with how writing normally works. It's not for everyone. It's not for most people or even most types of writing. I still kind of agree with that a little bit. I'm much better, much more comfortable with writing on stream. And especially over the last month, having to come up with a new title every day and then write a new story from beginning to end, I'm kind of hitting a flow. Not all of those stories are gold, but I'm getting better and better as a writer. So my own skill set is growing a little bit, and I think writing on stream has helped that a lot. I don't know that I would recommend that as a growth path for a lot of writers in terms of just trying to get better at writing. But for me, it's helped a great deal, kind of with my confidence and sort of with my ability to kind of keep a story going and hopefully keep it interesting. All right, next paragraph. There were a number of things I learned from writing this way for 20 straight days. If you're crazy enough to even consider something like this, my self-reflections might be helpful. If you're wise enough to be wary of the idea of live streaming as an author, then this list may help inform your choice. At the very least, it can serve as a curious look into one author behaving oddly. Alright, so we'll get into the enumerated list here. While live streaming, I'm less likely to take breaks. I have the option. I even have a neatly branded card I can put up that says "Be right back" anytime I need a break. I never use it. Now, of course, I kind of use it more because I've started writing longer by doing a live writing, an edit, and then a reading, and then sometimes an article like I'm doing now. It kind of pushes up into the 2 or 3 hour range, which is more natural for Twitch and a lot of the audience on Twitch. So now I kind of take breaks more often, but not every time. If I were to write in solitude with no one watching, but watching me, but God or the universe, I'd take breaks all the time. From the moment I started streaming each day, I just kept going until I reached my word count goal. Updated my word count on the NaNoWriMo live site. Checked how my friends were doing, the ones who gave me permission to look at their Nano pages on video, and said I'd see everyone again tomorrow. Other writing I did that day, I took breaks. Something about live streaming was like being on stage. The show had to go on, I guess. And I still kind of think that way, I suppose. Don't take breaks unless I need to. Number 2, I'm less likely to go ahead of pace. Going ahead of my minimum pace is one of my favorite achievements as a writer. If I need to write 1,000 words a day to get a book to a publisher on time, I write 2,500 words one day, I feel like I conquered the world. For a 20-day pace in Nano, I needed to write 2,500 words a day. That's not a difficult pace for me over a short period of time. A couple times I went 3,000 words or more, but I never doubled up, and most days I got just past my minimum and came to a stopping point. There was a great sense of relief in reaching my goal and signing off. At that point, I wasn't as... I didn't have as much experience streaming and writing on stream, so I wasn't used to going longer the way I am a little more now. And the short stories I write range a lot, so I can write a story that's about 2,000 words, but I've written one that was close to 5,000 words on stream, and that takes longer. But again, I'm still kind of getting to just a stopping point, which is finishing the story. So maybe that'll be the same with that. Also, I don't necessarily want to finish the novel early because I want to get in those 20 days if I'm committing to it. Number 3, I didn't skip days, and I think this is still true with streaming writing now. I had 2 doctor's appointments during the 20-day period. The one between day 19 and 20 was a sleep study. Oh God, I forgot that happened. That was awful. I hated that sleep study. I had to spend the night hooked to a breathing machine and wires. I slept badly, my head hurt, and they sent me home at 5 in the morning. Normally I would have skipped both those days of writing and just finished up on days 21 and 22. Because I was streaming, I streamed early on the 19th and edited the video before going to the sleep clinic. On the 20th, I felt terrible all day and finally sat down that evening to crawl past 50,000 words for the win. Maybe people would have noticed I skipped days. Maybe they wouldn't have, but I set a schedule and I stuck with it. Oh yeah, that was awful. They didn't even come up with anything helpful from that sleep study, so it was kind of a big waste of time. But I forgot that was in the middle of all that, so it was quite a slog to get back to work after that. Hopefully that won't be the case this November. All right, number 4. I found it fascinating what fascinates people. Some of you reading this are ahead of me on this one, and again, I'm writing this primarily to people that aren't familiar with Twitch. You're wondering why anyone would want to watch someone write. The entire time I streamed during November, I gained followers and had more and more interactions during the streams. People encouraged me and rooted for me in the chat. People asked questions about process. I paused from writing to answer. 2 times I forgot to switch my stream view to where my Word doc was showing. For an hour and a half, 2 different days, anyone watching was just looking at my face as I typed, and people still watched. Lots of people do streaming of writing many different ways. A lot of people do writing sprints, and so the viewer and the person streaming are writing at the same time. Other people write on stream but don't tell the story out loud the way that I tend to do. But there's 100 different ways to do it. I follow a lot of writing streamers because I'm fascinated by what they do and I enjoy seeing stories be created. But again, like even on days when I kind of messed up because I wasn't used to the software and I'd forget to click over to the scene I was supposed to be in, I would still have people watching. It made editing those videos a little weird. All right. I don't write my goriest stories while streaming, and this is still kind of true for me, although I've slipped into gore a little bit more, a lot this month, writing a story every single day. I've done a lot more horror, which is kind of more my wheelhouse. Let's see what I said a year ago right after NaNoWriMo. I'm selective about the type of stories I stream. Twitch has a rule against excessive gore, but that is primarily about visuals. I could probably get away with it in prose, but I save my extreme horror for writing in private anyway. So some of the more gory, like really extreme stuff that I write for different anthologies and stuff. A lot of that I do off stream still. Even as I wrote scenes in the Nano novel, where I'd normally describe the damage of a gunshot in visceral, self-indulgent detail, I rethought my approach while streaming. I was aware of the audience in an immediate way. I also took a beat and thought, is it more important to describe the physical damage or the emotional terror of the character in this scene? Someone's trying to text me. In another situation, I would have dumped the emotion for the splatter without a second thought. You can have both splatter and emotion too, but I think the spirit of the novel in this case was served better by the choice to veer away from the viscera. So I still kind of have that as a case. When you're writing a story for an extreme horror anthology or publisher, you really kind of have to go really far out, because that audience is so used to seeing blood and guts and violence and sex and everything else, that if you come in too light or too subtle, that particular audience is not going to go for it. Now, doing that live on stream isn't necessarily the best idea. Although I do have to say that in some of the horror stories I've written, that not that they're extreme horror stories, but they do have gore. They will. We both shared the link at the same time. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate you diving in there. I should have just had faith in you. And thank you for being here and asking about the link. I appreciate it. You're double welcome. All right, so I don't think I shy away as much as I used to, but I do select the type of storytelling I do on stream differently. And extreme horror and gore is only one type of storytelling that I employ. So I guess this is still partially true, but not as true as it used to be, I would say. All right, jumping to number 6. It was more inspiring and motivating to people than I expected. To me, this was originally just a gimmick. I'm trying to explore Twitch as an author platform, and I've done more of that recently. And as a full-time writer trying to survive while living my dream, I'm striving to build Twitch into another supplementary source of income. As I updated my word count status, I looked through the author buddies of mine who let me include their progress on the air. I edited the full video and a clip of just the word count checks from the end. The clips meant more to people than I expected. I talked about the books I liked from them. I cheered the ones who were ahead. I encouraged the ones who were behind. On the stream and from the clips, I had multiple people say it made them feel a part of something. I got messages saying from some authors kept going instead of quitting because of what I said. We can all use encouragement, I suppose. Who knows? Maybe it was the background music that made the difference. So again, I'm more aware of it now, but Twitch does mean a lot to a lot of people. The community, the give and take. It's not just about one person sitting and creating while everyone else watches. The people that I watch and have kind of enjoyed and have learned from on here, I'll catch them coming onto my stream and encouraging me as well. So there's a lot more give and take on Twitch than I originally realized when I first started, and I really enjoy that. Probably of all the social media platforms, this one may be the most intimate because you are creating in front of people, and you're kind of interacting with other creators as well. So I think I was just getting a taste of that as I first was streaming day after day after day with NaNoWriMo back in November. Number 7, I started later than I normally would, and I'll have a couple things to say about this one. Any other year, I'd sit down and bang out my word minimum first thing in the morning and move on with my day. Now I needed to be showered and groomed. I had to be sure I didn't wear the same shirt 2 or 3 days in a row. I had to be sure the kids didn't need anything before I started. Had to be sure the sun wasn't shining on the camera lenses. And that I had the scene set up correctly. Sometimes I had to gear myself up mentally to be on for the stream. Late starts became typical. All right, a few things are different now. For one thing, I stick much closer to a schedule. With that NaNoWriMo writing, I just said I would do it every day. I didn't set a time, which of course was a mistake. That's not how Twitch works. So a lot of times it would just drag out. With this effort in May, I set a schedule, and I've kept the schedule, and I've done that consistently with the with the months I'm not doing a special event. And we'll do that again in June. So I imagine this coming NaNoWriMo season, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll set my times each of those 20 days, and I'll start specifically on those times. And it's more of a habit now, so it sticks with me more. I got better equipment now, so lights and blinds and all the things that I need to just keep the scenes consistent. So just in terms of my setup, it's a lot more conducive to better videos and better writing. So that's changed a good bit too. All right, number 8. I catch myself speaking out loud as I'm writing even when I'm not on stream. The one thing I believe that differentiates me from other writers on the platform, aside from sex appeal of course, is that I can read the story out loud as I'm typing it, so it isn't a silent stream during the writing process. Since I've been streaming the writing of my Nano novel, I've caught myself speaking the words I'm typing when I'm writing off camera as well. This will just add to the evidence that I'm crazy. And I still kind of do that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're having a focus issue and you're trying to fix something in your writing. It doesn't hurt to read it. But I typically don't, when I'm not on stream, I don't say the words out loud as I'm typing them, but that's what I was kind of catching myself doing there for a while. All right, number 9, audience awareness pushes me to write better, and I think that's still true, and it may be one of the reasons I feel like I've improved recently as a writer. I try to be brave with my first draft. I'm generally not afraid to make mistakes while getting a story out on the page. I'm not afraid of the inevitable heavy edits after my first draft. I believe I was still going for that fearless stance while streaming. Not to shine my own crown too much, but I imagine a lot of writers would be frozen by the reality of people watching and reading along as they wrote. I do think that people who write on stream are kind of a rare breed to an extent. Writing and streaming at the same time is kind of, patting your stomach and rubbing your head. But there's a lot of people that do it really, really well. So there's a range of good creators on here. Being aware of those eyes didn't freeze me, but it gave me a constant reminder to not let the story get boring. As I went live and prepared to type the first line of a new chapter, I was immediately pushed to go with something bold instead of benign. You can fix most anything in the editing, but understanding how the reader will experience the flow, action, pacing, character exchanges, and tone in real time adds a certain positive pressure to deliver on the story. And I still kind of feel that. Like when I write a short story on stream, the last thing I want is for it to be boring. So the moment I feel myself kind of boring myself or doing too much backstory or anything like that, I think knowing people are watching actually kind of clicks me over into that mode of get back to the exciting parts, don't write the boring parts kind of rules of writing. So I think it helps a lot in that sense, and I do enjoy that aspect of writing on stream now that I'm doing it regularly. And lastly, number 10, after NaNoWriMo last year, I said, this is not ideal for all forms of writing, and I still kind of think that's true. There are a lot of creative wordsmiths doing interesting things on Twitch. It took me a lot of hunting around to find them among the many gamers so I could follow and learn from them. You can do great things live, and it has potential to punch up the process. It isn't ideal for gore, extreme horror, or erotica. While it lends itself to experimentation, it probably does not reward the most controversial works or subjects. I'm sure it runs afoul of reprint rules, so any story I write on Twitch, I'll need to inform potential publishers of its history if I'm not self-publishing. And I treat everything I write on Twitch as if it's a reprint, and I'm writing things off a stream as well. If you are struggling with a piece, that may be something you don't want seen by the world, though the world sure is fascinated by process. And I think that's part of getting past the fear when you stream anything, but especially when you stream writing, being able to work on something that isn't going well or isn't perfect, I think is interesting to people. And seeing you kind of fight it and try to work to make it better is helpful to other writers as well. So struggling with the piece. The moments I struggled to find the right word, debated the next turn in the story, or scolded myself out loud over a section I didn't write well enough, those were the times people wanted to know more. This is new territory for authors, but generally, with the door closed and alone with your thoughts is still the ideal condition for most authors and most stories. All right, last paragraph here, summing up how I felt last year after NaNoWriMo. I'm excited about what I'm doing with this platform, how I am growing it, and how people are responding. I like the content I'm producing and the pieces it gives me to share on other platforms as I redefine my brand. I'm happy to be in on a thing like Twitch for authors when it is still in the early stages of exploration. I'm proud of the skills I'm developing and believe the new toolbox will serve me well no matter what happens in the future. I'm hopeful more authors will take a chance on it and will learn new things from each other. It's not for everyone, but surviving as an author and creator for many decades now has largely been defined by those who were able to adopt and those who failed to see the need.